E-commerce is changing, and there's a new Facebook ads and Google ads strategy that is completely taking over the industry. Using this exact strategy, I was able to increase one of our clients' revenue by 51% year over year and also increase their total orders. And we did all this while the market is down about 30% year over year. This is purely focused on new customer acquisition while just maintaining your existing customers. This is specifically applicable to e-commerce brands that are in that 7-figure range and are trying to grow to 8 and 9 and beyond. A lot of what I'm going to break down in here could be applied if you're literally just starting out or even under that $200,000-$300,000 total annual revenue range. This is going to be focused on both Facebook ads and Google ads. When we toggle this business for the last 365 days and we compare it to the previous year, first thing we're going to see is our gross sales are 1.3 million, which is up 51% year over year. That is a huge change when the rest of the market is down nearly 30%. The other thing is their returning customer rate is only 11%. So this is not a business that repeats customers too often. This is a business that is purely reliant on acquiring new customers. The third thing you're going to see is new orders are up 85%, 7,252 orders over the last 365 days, 85% more than the previous year. And the coolest part is we did all of this while only improving the online store conversion rate by 19% year over year. What this means to me is we drove more qualified traffic to the site using the strategies to acquire specifically new customers, and we wasted as little money as possible on customers that were going to repeat purchase without us doing anything. First things first, we are going to start with a standard ASC campaign, one of the most core campaigns that we have within all of Facebook ads. Walking through these settings, first things, we're going to set our website and shop. 99% of the time, as long as you could drive sales on your Instagram or Facebook shop, we are going to want to set them here. Next thing is your performance goal should be maximize number of conversions, and you're going to want to select your commerce account. In many cases, you are going to want to select a cost per result goal. However, if you're just starting out or you're new and you don't know what your cost per result goal is, then leave this blank. Either way, it's not going to impact the strategy that I'm going to go through in too much detail. The next piece here, and this is a huge important part of this strategy. When we are looking to acquire new customers incrementally and we're not really overly focused on driving existing customers to repurchase, we actually are going to eliminate the view through conversion. If you're just starting out, include the view through conversion. If you're only spending a couple $100s a day, include the view through conversion. If you're scaling, if you're spending $1,000 a day, $500 a day, or even beyond that, you do not need to include the view through conversion, because what the click through conversion is going to do is it's only going to track conversions that actually happened via a click over the last 7 days. That is going to be so much more impactful for your business than someone that may have just scrolled by your ad and was going to convert anyway. So everything that we're doing is purely focused on what is the platform actually driving for us without us having to overanalyze the data and trying to figure out which ads actually drove incremental impact. 7-day click, no view through. And then the most important part here, when we go down to our reporting section, we're going to see engaged audiences and existing customers. First off, what you're going to want to do is include in your engaged audience at least 1 or 2 engaged audience lists. The most important ones you're going to want to have are going to be site visitors over the last 30 days and engagement on your Instagram and Facebook channels over the last 30 days. Once you have those in there, that's going to give Facebook ads a general idea of who's actually engaging on your site and who do you consider, based on the audience that you've provided, to be highly engaged. The next part here, and this is how we're going to eliminate all existing customers and how we're really going to focus on new customer acquisition. So we're going to select the existing customer group here, and we're going to make sure we properly exclude anyone who's ever purchased our product over all time. To do this, you're going to have to go to your advertiser settings. And once you're in your advertiser settings, there's this little pop-up on the left side here, and you could actually select the audiences that you want to include here. Engaged audience, I'm going to include visitors over the last 30 days, and I'm probably also going to include my Instagram over the last 30 days as well. The next thing for existing customers, I'm going to take purchase 180 days, and then I'm definitely going to make sure that I have my entire CRM uploaded into here. So that's like my whole Klaviyo list, all time purchasers in that existing customer list, because I can target them in other ways. And we're really just trying to be most cost effective to drive new incremental customers to our business. Looking at budget, once you have an existing customer list in here, you're going to be able to select existing customer budget cap. What you're going to want to do is you're going to have existing customer budget cap at 0. I know that sounds a little crazy, but basically we don't want Facebook to at all target our existing customers. Now, if you say I'm comfortable with a very small percentage being on existing customers, really don't go over 10% in any case. There's no point of this if you want to try to acquire new customers using this campaign, because Advantage Plus is specifically good at retargeting, retention, and acquiring new customers. So we're going to eliminate 2 of those and just lock this in to acquiring new customers for your business. Select the existing customer budget cap, set it to 0, and then define your daily budget based on whatever you're trying to achieve. Generally, in this strategy, we want 95% of our total budget to be locked in on driving new customers. Moving down the list here in our settings, there is nothing else that we need to change. The most important settings were already tweaked. tweaked. The next campaign that we're going to want to have in this strategy is a generic prospecting CBO campaign. This campaign is set up just like any other sales campaign. And what we're going to actually create in this campaign are 3 different ad sets. First, we're going to have our broad ad set. We're going to have an interest and a second interest. Our very first campaign, actual settings in this campaign, we're going to have a sales objective. We are going to select Advantage Campaign Budget. This is also known as CBO. And then we're going to set our budget probably pretty close to whatever we set our ASC budget at. So in this case, $500 a piece for what I'm setting it. And then nothing else needs to change at the campaign level. When we go to the ad set itself, we're going to make sure website and shop is set up, still continuing to use maximize number of conversions. Make sure you select your commerce account. And then right here in the attribution settings, we are going to eliminate the 1-day view. And then we're going to skip dynamic creative. We are going to move down to budget and scheduling, and we're not going to make any changes here. And then once we go to the audience here, this is where things get really important. If you keep your audience controls, you actually are giving Facebook the ability to target your existing customers. We need to search existing audiences and we need to exclude these custom audiences. So we're just driving net new purchasers to the business. The next piece here, which is super important, and this is where there's a lot of confusion going on in the space right now. Just because we set the purchase 180 day here doesn't mean it's going to be listened to perfectly. We also need to switch to an original audience. When we switch to an original audience, Facebook will actually listen to this purchase 180 day exclusion. If you do not switch to the audience, your audiences are a suggestion. So that goes as far as your exclusions, your ages, your genders, whatever you're targeting. If you have Advantage Plus audience, you're letting Facebook go beyond the audiences that you give it. Moving down to placements. In this case, I'm going to select all Advantage Plus placements. There may be a case where you might just want to just be on the Instagram platform or no stories or just feed. There are options for that, but generally speaking, Advantage Plus placements is going to do the best for you. And that's what we've been doing in this strategy specifically. In addition to this one single broad pack one, we are going to create the exact same setup for 2 additional interest groups. Facebook interests are still very, very strong, and we do see varying performance based on different interests, and we see incremental impact to drive new customers based on interest. So what we're going to do is keep everything just like we did in the previous ad set, except the only difference is when we go down to our audience section, we're going to first make sure we're excluding the proper audience. So we're excluding our purchasers over the last 180 days. And then when we scroll down a little bit more to Advantage Plus detailed targeting, we're going to take suggestions here. For this example, we're just going to target Under Armour. So we're just going to scroll down to our Advantage detailed targeting, and I'm just going to type in Under Armour. We're not targeting the employers. You can see there's only 37,000 employees. We want to target the sporting goods brand. In this case, we have 40 million to 47 million, which is a huge difference. Now we can remove Lululemon from there, and then boom, we have our interest targeting fully set up. And I would generally recommend doing the same thing here as a second pack. So we're going to have the same idea here, and we're going to target Fabletics in this case as well. There's one more part of the strategy that is important if you have existing customers coming in and you don't want to totally forget about them. Existing customer retention is still an important part of your strategy. It's just not what we're totally focused on right now. What I would recommend doing is creating a specific retention campaign. And then what you want to do in this campaign is one of 2 things. First off, you can just create a single campaign that targets everyone over the last 180 days that have purchased from your business. And how you can do that again is by going down to this audience section. Do not select the Advantage Plus audience, select the original audience, and just plug in your purchasers 180 days. Make sure your Advantage Custom Audience Plus is unselected, and then everything else could be kept as is. Now, the only caveat here that you might want to have if you don't have too many purchasers over the last 180 days is also to include your Klaviyo all-time purchasers list. If you're a bigger business, then what you may want to do is instead of pushing this all into one, you would then set this up and change this to Klaviyo all-time purchases within one new ad set. That's the setup that we have on the Facebook side. Now, this doesn't end here. You actually have to apply this same strategy across all of your marketing channels, and that's why we're going to break this into Google. If you just did this for Facebook and you let other channels just run freely, those other channels are going to heavily inflate in terms of their attribution because you're taking away existing customers from Facebook and you're kind of allowing other channels to bid more aggressively on those existing customers, which can completely screw up all your attribution and make other channels look 5 times better than Facebook is. We're going to hop into Google because this is probably your second most dominant channel. And if it's not, I'd recommend you find a way to make it your second most dominant channel. The most popular campaign right now, the Performance Max campaign. So when we create a Performance Max campaign, outside of asset groups, listing groups, what are the key settings we're using to bid exclusively for new customers? And furthermore, it's not as simple as just selecting the new customer toggle. It's really critical that we actually have exclusions in here beyond that so that you're not bidding on people that may have purchased without spending more money on ads. So starting at the top, first thing, we're just going to want to make sure our campaign specific goal is set. We're using the most accurate purchase conversion event, just so everything is completely accurate. The next part is when we move to customer acquisition. There's 3 toggles here. First thing you need to select is optimize the campaign for acquiring new customers. There's 2 settings under this. First is bid higher for new customers than for existing customers, which Google flagships to you and recommends to you. Honestly, it's a little confusing to actually break this down in the numbers because you're basically saying the additional conversion value for new customers is worth this much to me, and then old customers is worth this much to me. What we like to do is only bid for new customers. And this is going to do 2 things for you. First off, it makes the campaign really easy for you to digest, really easy for you to understand, is this doing well to acquire new customers? Yes or no. The second thing that you need to be mindful of is how you're bidding. So in this case, I'm selecting a target return on ad spend. Maybe you have a target CPA, but be mindful that this campaign is going to be worse than a campaign that's been allowed to target freely. If you've allowed your campaign to have no restriction and hit existing customers over and over again, then this campaign is going to do worse because your old campaign is heavily inflated by results that your existing customers were driving in it. I'm breaking down a business that's done $1.3 million. We've grown 55% year over year. We've grown 80% in orders, and you're going to see my target ROAS is only set for 140% because this business is willing to acquire customers at a break even, which is around 1.4 for them, as long as those customers continue to come back, which we see at a rate of about 10 to 12%. The final and the most important part of this entire strategy as it relates to Google Ads is your brand exclusion list. If you did everything else that I just went through and you don't include this brand exclusion list, the strategy will not work. So what you want to do here is create a new brand list. And this is going to be a keyword list of all your most important branded terms. So for example, if you are Nike, you are just going to phrase match exclude the word Nike. You might also exclude Jordan. You might also exclude Nike Dunks or different variations of the shoe. In your case, whatever your brand is referred to, put it in this exclusion list. This is going to go above and beyond the new customer only targeting. The reason that this is so critically important, let's say I see a Facebook ad and then 3 days later, I decide to Google search your brand. By me Google searching your brand, I was already heavily influenced by the Facebook ad. Why would I want to pay again for me to get to your site? Now we're going to separate the Facebook conversion from the Google conversion specifically for this one campaign. It's not that we don't want to pay again, it's that we just want to be more strategic about how we pay again and not just smash the customer over and over and over with display advertising or shopping ads or search ads. So once you create the new Performance Max campaign that's explicitly targeting new customers, we also need to make sure we have coverage on your existing terms just a little bit more strategically. We are going to create a standard shopping campaign. And going through the settings here, we're going to do the exact same thing. Make sure your goals are set up properly. And then as you scroll down, the big thing here is that your bidding and your target return on ad spend could be significantly higher because we are allowing existing customers to play within this campaign. We know that this campaign is going to be heavily inflated by existing customers, and we don't really care if existing customers are purchasing here because we're being very, very strict with how high we need this target return on ad spend to be. On the other campaign, I set a 140% target ROAS or a 1.4. On this campaign, I'm setting a 400 or a 4. That's a huge gap because my existing customers are more likely to purchase over and over again. Moving down to the bottom here, we have no exclusion set. The only few things that you're going to want to tweak are you will include Google search partners, and then for your locations and your location options, do not select the recommended. Select presence in or regularly in your targeted locations. Once we have that standard shopping campaign, the only final thing that we need to do here is set up a brand campaign. And this is going to be actually a search campaign. So within this search campaign, this is just to cover all of our bases. If someone is typing in your brand name, we really just want to make sure that you're showing up first and foremost over your competitors so that we don't put ourselves in a scenario where competitors are outbidding us and potentially taking purchasers that were at the very, very, very end of the funnel anyway. And the way we're going to do this is a little bit different. For customer acquisition, we are not selecting this button because we're actually comfortable with new and existing customers seeing our ad right at the top. Scrolling down just a bit, we're going to be bidding at a target impression share. What we want to do is we want to show up absolute at the top. So it's going to be absolute top page results. We want to show up between 90 and 99% of the time, never 100% of the time. And then we're going to strategically place our CPC bid limit. So I like to usually set this in the range of $2 to $5, 2 being on the very conservative side. And the reason for this is I'm not willing to pay more than $2 for someone who's already typing in my brand to pay again for that click. If that means I lose the search 2 to 10% of the time to my competitors, I'm completely fine with that because that click just costs too much and they're probably not worth it to continue to try to acquire that customer. A couple other options that you're going to want to be careful of here. Do not allow for automatically created assets to be done, especially when we're looking at branded search. We are also not including broad match keywords. Make sure this is set for off. And then there will be no brand exclusion conclusions because we are comfortable with those brand searches actually showing up. Now, throughout this video, I was showing you a really complex strategy. So if you want to see the inner workings of the Facebook side of the strategy, click this video right here to learn exactly how I'm setting up all our Facebook ad accounts and the most advanced structure that we set up in all of 2024.